Hi, I'm Cynthia Allen here with Bob Ray Sanders. Thanks for joining us for another Taking Sides. Bob Ray, for the last several weeks, the Star Telegram and WFAA have been looking at the issue of payday lending and car title loans. These are businesses that have kind of proliferated around the state. There are a lot of them in Fort Worth and Arlington in particular. Fort Worth and Arlington don't regulate payday lenders like some other cities in the state of Texas do, and there's been a lot of criticism about that. What are your thoughts about payday lenders and possible regulation?
Well, generally, I agree with our newspaper position, and that is that the state ought to be regulating these institutions. But I also agree that many poor people, disadvantaged people, are taken advantage of through these high interest loans, and they get trapped in this whole thing because they can't pay back the loan, so they have to refinance, and the interest rates go up as high as 125% or whatever. So you end up paying double what you borrowed. At the same time, I must say that some of these things came into being because the traditional lending institutions did not lend to certain people, even if they could afford to pay back the loan. So, I think we have to look at that too. But it really goes back to the state doing its job, and the state hasn't been willing to do that, the legislature.
Right. I mean, you point out an interesting conundrum. I mean, clearly there's a market for these businesses. I mean, there's some people who can't get a traditional loan, and so they don't really have any other choice. So payday lenders do provide a service. The problem is, are they becoming exploitive? I do think that the city should regulate payday lending through things like zoning. I think that they should zone them out of neighborhoods if they want to, and that's something that the city can and should be doing. I don't think Fort Worth has done that as much as it should, although I know there have been proposals in the past. But yeah, I agree with you that if this is going to be regulated, it's the state that has the expertise to do it. The city doesn't have the expertise to tell payday lenders how to structure loans, for example.
Well, I don't know that I agree that they ought to be zoned out of communities because we depend on zoning to do a lot of things that we don't want to do otherwise. And so we come up with zoning laws that forces people out of communities and out of certain streets or whatever. If the state does its job, then the cities wouldn't have to do it. But my concern is that there are people out there who lose their cars because they can't pay back these title loans.
Right.
So the companies repossess them. So then you have double trouble because then they can't get the work and they become more financially, disabled. It's a tough problem, but we'll have to see if the legislature is going to do it, and I don't think they will this time either. They've tried twice before, and it hasn't happened.
Even the federal government has said that they're looking into this, although I'm not sure that it's the role of the federal government. I think at state level is probably better for these kinds of regulations. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has said that that's something that they're focusing on, but again, I don't think that is something that they should be doing.
Well, let's be honest. I mean, these institutions are wealthy institutions, and they put a lot of money into politics, into politicians. And the politicians, as long as they're getting the money from these institutions, they're going to side with the institutions.
You're right about that, and there's a balance that needs to be made between what the market, between the market and protecting people from bad practices, from bad financial practices. And you're right; it's the role of the state to figure that out. We both agree that it's not the role of the city.
Right, but it's Texas.
We agree on something. That's good, Bob Ray.
That's a good note to end on.
It is. It is. Thanks for joining us today.